Have you ever wondered what really happens when your heart stops beating? It's not about theories or simple beliefs, but a mystery that has obsessed humanity since the beginning of time. Different civilizations have tried to unravel this enigma, leaving behind hidden, shocking testimonies and knowledge that only a few have managed to understand. But what if I told you that there are ancient writings that describe in detail what happens in that crucial moment? Documents that explain the paths the soul travels, the trials it faces, and the secrets that have been hidden for centuries. What you're about to hear isn't a common story, but a journey into the deepest parts of existence. Join me in this exploration of forbidden knowledge that could change the way you perceive life and death. But before we continue, tell me in the comments, do you believe consciousness continues to exist after death, or does everything end there? From ancient cultures to modern studies on near-death experiences, an enigmatic pattern emerges. Different traditions, separated by thousands of kilometers and centuries of history, have spoken of the same thing. A transition, a transformation, a hidden truth beyond the last breath. For some, death is just the end of a cycle. For others, the beginning of a journey into the unknown. In the oldest records, surprising accounts are found about what happens when the soul detaches from the body. It's said that in the first moment, consciousness doesn't yet understand what has happened. Some texts describe this stage as a moment of absolute clarity, while others speak of confusion and fear. Here's where a fascinating detail comes up. Many people who have experienced temporary death have reported the same thing, a sensation of floating above their own body, observing those around them, feeling an indescribable peace or a deep terror. Could it be that these modern accounts confirm what the ancients already knew? In lost manuscripts, it's mentioned that the soul goes through different states before understanding its new reality. Some describe a tunnel of light, a path to another dimension. Others warn of shadows that try to hold back those not yet ready to depart. This duality has been mentioned in multiple traditions, from the esoteric texts of vanished civilizations to the records of those who have returned from death with memories impossible to ignore. Ancient wise men spoke of an invisible scale that weighs the soul. It was said that, depending on one's actions in life, the spirit could ascend to planes of light or remain trapped in the density of its own shadow. This concept, though expressed in different ways, appears in various beliefs around the world. Some called it judgment, others saw it as a necessary purification. But the message is the same. No one escapes the truth of their own existence. In many traditions, death isn't a sudden event, but a process. The detachment from the physical body is just the first step of a much greater journey. It's said that in the first moments, the soul is received by beings of light or familiar figures who guide the way. However, some claim that not everyone finds this welcome. Certain ancient stories mention that some souls remain trapped in an in-between state, wandering between worlds without finding their final destination. The key seems to lie in the state of mind at the moment of death. Those who have cultivated peace and wisdom in life describe harmonious transitions, while those who have accumulated fear, guilt, or remorse speak of chaotic and disturbing experiences. This brings us to one of the most unsettling questions. Can we prepare for death while we're still alive? Some spiritual masters claim that the way we live determines the journey we'll have after death. Detachment, clarity of thought, and compassion would be key to crossing this threshold without fear. Other traditions teach specific practices to strengthen consciousness and avoid being trapped in states of confusion. And you, do you believe death is just an end or a transition to something greater? Leave me your opinion in the comments, and if you want to keep exploring these fascinating topics, subscribe now so you don't miss the next discoveries. This is just the first part of the journey. In the next section, we'll explore what different cultures have described about the planes of existence, the spiritual judgments, and the trials each soul must face before reaching its true destination. What comes next will completely change the way you see life and death. Some say death is just a door, but few know what's really on the other side. Throughout history, the most advanced civilizations have left clues about what happens after the last breath. Ancient manuscripts, testimonies from those who've been on the brink of death, and esoteric practices have tried to decipher the soul's path. But there's something they all agree on. Not all paths lead to the same destination. It's said that upon abandoning the physical body, the soul faces its first great trial, the judgment of consciousness. Not a heavenly court, but a reflection of its own essence. Those who have lived with compassion and balance describe a sensation of lightness, as if carried by a current of light. But those who have accumulated fear, guilt, or anger speak of a dense darkness that holds them back, as if their own energy ties them to the earth. Here's where hidden texts come into play. Writings have been found that detail the trials the soul faces in this transition. It's mentioned that the moment of death isn't an end, but the start of a process in which each being is confronted with their actions, thoughts, and emotions. Some texts describe a life review where the soul experiences its deeds not only from its own perspective, but from that of those it affected. And this isn't just an ancient belief. Many who've had near-death experiences have reported seeing their lives flash before their eyes, but with a disturbing detail. They felt the impact of their actions on others. It wasn't just remembering, it was experiencing what they made others feel. But the most shocking part is what happens next. According to ancestral records, the soul can take different paths depending on its level of evolution. Some believe the most advanced souls transcend to a state of absolute peace, while others must reincarnate to keep learning. Here's where ancient texts speak of different planes of existence, not just heaven and hell, but dimensions of energy, vibration, and consciousness. In some traditions, intermediate worlds are mentioned where souls remain trapped by their attachments. In others, realms of light are described where those who've attained wisdom can continue evolving. But one concept repeats across various traditions. The soul goes exactly where it belongs. It's not a punishment or a reward, but a consequence of its own vibration. Those who've cultivated peace and compassion tend to rise to states of light, while those who fed fear and resentment remain trapped in denser realities. In some ancient texts, it's described that souls must pass through a tunnel of light, but not all reach the end. Some veer off, trapped in illusions created by their own minds. There's talk of entities that try to deceive the newly departed, appearing as familiar beings to keep them in lower states. Here arises the big question. How can we prepare for this moment? The oldest spiritual traditions suggest the key lies in consciousness. We die as we've lived. If we've cultivated fear, attachment, or anger, that's what we'll carry with us. If we've learned to let go, to live with clarity and love, the transition will be much lighter. This leads us to one of the most important teachings hidden from the world. Death isn't an accident, but a transition we can prepare for. And ancient civilizations knew how to do it. From Egyptian rituals to the esoteric practices of the East, techniques were taught to help the soul cross the threshold without fear. In some cultures, meditations were held where people imagined their own death, not as a tragic end, but as a transformation. In others, altered states of consciousness were practiced to familiarize oneself with the process of detaching from the body. That's why the way we live is crucial. Have you ever stopped to think what your own transition would be like? Have you wondered what vibration you carry inside you? Leave me your answer in the comments, and if you want to keep exploring these mysteries, subscribe now and turn on notifications because what's coming next could change everything. In the next part, we'll talk about what really happens at the final threshold, the decisions the soul must make, and how every choice in life defines what we'll find in the beyond. Prepare yourself because you're about to discover knowledge hidden for centuries. Imagine you've crossed the threshold. The life you knew has faded, and now you find yourself in an unknown space. Without a body, without time, just pure consciousness. In that instant, everything you were, everything you felt, and everything you did takes on a new meaning. The question is, are you ready to face what's coming? Ancient teachings tell us that the soul doesn't disappear, but goes through a process, a transition where it faces its deepest truth, without mask, without excuses. But this journey isn't the same for everyone. Some describe a radiance that envelops them in absolute peace. Others feel dragged into a state of confusion and shadows. What makes the difference? Esoteric texts agree on something. The state of our mind and heart at the moment of death is crucial. It's not about external judgment, but internal vibration. The energy we've built up in life guides us to the next destination. No one sends us anywhere. We head toward where we belong. In some traditions, there's talk of guardians who receive the soul and guide it to the next level of existence. In others, it's said that souls must make a decision at that threshold, move toward the light or remain trapped in their own reflection. Here's where one of the greatest secrets of existence is revealed. Free will doesn't end with death. According to ancient records, the soul can experience three main paths. The path of transcendence. Those who've cultivated clarity and wisdom merge with universal consciousness. No fear, just expansion. The cycle of return. Souls with unfinished lessons return to physical existence in a new life. It's not a punishment, but an opportunity to evolve. Stagnation. Some remain in in-between states, trapped in their own emotions and attachments. These planes are described in various traditions as dimensions, where souls wander without finding their final destination. The most striking thing is that many of these ideas aren't just ancient theories. In modern studies on near-death experiences, many people have described going through these same stages. They've spoken of tunnels of light, life reviews, a sense of being guided, and souls that seem stuck in states of confusion. This brings us to one of the most important questions of all. What can we do in life to ensure we take the right path? The oldest spiritual traditions have left us clear clues. Cultivate consciousness. Live with clarity, without excessive attachments or unnecessary fears. The way we think and feel shapes our soul's vibration. Free ourselves from emotional weight. Resentment, hatred, and guilt are burdens that can follow us beyond death. Letting go, forgiving, and healing are key to a lighter transition. Develop a connection with the divine. No matter the tradition, they all agree on something. Those who've nurtured a bond with universal energy describe death as a return home, not an end. Live with purpose. Every choice we make leaves a mark on our energy. Acting with love, integrity, and awareness prepares us for that final moment. And here's the most shocking revelation of all. What we call death isn't the end, but the Great Awakening, a process we'll all face without exception. But the question isn't what will happen when that moment comes, but how we choose to prepare for it now. So now the decision is yours. Will you keep living as if death didn't exist, trapped in the superficial? Or will you start raising your consciousness, cleansing your energy, preparing for the greatest journey of all? Leave me your opinion in the comments. Do you believe the soul continues to exist after death? Which path do you think you'll take? Subscribe to keep exploring these hidden mysteries, and don't forget to leave a like if this knowledge has resonated with you. With that said, thanks for watching, and see you next time.